99 and total 12,000, they have to vote on legislation before it gets passed. So if they're not being lobbied for terrible legislation and only the work committee is sending it to them, it'll just never go anywhere, so that bad legislation won't pass.
Yeah.
But, and again, we might not be able to agree on a specific point, but I guess what we look at is, those people are going to have power. They might be looking for money for bad reasons, but at least they won't have that perverse incentive where they have to be raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because right now, they have to be. I mean, look at Senator Calderon. You say what you want about him, but the system almost encourages you to be looking for people to give you those type of checks. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? You have to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to win a race like this. Whereas now, at least we remove that perverse incentive. You know, I can't predict the future. Might stay the same, might get worse. I don't think it would.
I don't think it'll get worse, but I don't think it'll get significantly better. And I do agree with you that without having that pressure of having to raise the money, there will be some people who won't be tempted. But there's always people that are tempted by money for their own personal gain and has nothing to do with, you know, raising money.
No, you're very right. And to your point about who they're electing on the working committee too, we're hoping that we'll get more nonpartisan people running in positions as they have in other states, because you know there's a huge portion of California that's nonpartisan. I mean, it's like 30%. I think. So, but it's really hard for them to run in a race right now because despite that large portion of Californians, as I said earlier, you miss out on all the statewide media attention. All the media attention is what are the Republicans doing, what are the Democrats doing, not what am I doing as an individual to help you and what am I doing as an individual to address your community's concerns. But you can get past all of that noise with a small district because you can have a real relationship with people and just communicate with them on I mean, that's how a lot of city council races work, especially in smaller cities.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
How will the one out of the 100 that comes to Sacramento be compensated? I mean, their $1,000 a year won't go very far to.
They're going to get $50,000 a year.
Okay, I guess you said that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So they'll be elected today, and for 2 years, that one person will be the.
Yeah, and part of the rationale behind that is they're not going to be doing as much work as they were before in terms of not having to fundraise 24/7, and it's still a lot of money. I mean, $50,000. I think Yolo County supervisors get $59,000. So it's a good amount of money. It's more of a community service type position as it is in a lot of other states if we have this type of a system, but it's still enough money to compensate, I think, for the additional time that's needed for a working committee member versus a neighborhood legislator.
Is there any anticipation of how much time they'd spend in Sacramento? I mean, the requirements for the legislature meeting wouldn't change.
No, it'd be...
Or it might change, it might have to change.
Yeah, I mean, they could vote to change it over time. They could vote to make themselves, not meet quite as often. These are all things that could be addressed by the future system, and I trust those legislators to address it much more than our current ones.
So within this system, are they going to be providing, like, for the current candidates who want to run a certain amount of signatures to get from your jurisdiction, to get to run, and then a certain amount of fee, a fee to run, which usually makes it prohibitive now to run to be an assemblyman or a senator unless you are wealthy or have somebody backing you.
I don't think it's that much. I think it's something like 20 signatures need to get, and that's based on our current system. I based that experience on a few campaigns. I've been on a congressional level and sheriff, so I guess at more city level, but I remember never being an issue for at least the qualification purposes. You can pay a fee, but there's also signatures in lieu of a filing fee, and I don't think it's more than like 20. It was more for write-in candidates. It's like 2,000, but that whole distinction is kind of muddied now with Prop 14 anyway. So I don't think it would be prohibitively expensive. I don't think it would be more than a few $100s. I can't tell you for sure, unfortunately, but I'll look into that. And if
Would it be written into the legislation, itself to do that?
The specific requirement on signatures,
Yeah.
and No, it's just based on the current rules. We want to touch as little as possible with this, just make it simple about reducing the size of legislative districts. So we don't want to, we don't want to alienate potential people that would vote for it by tweaking some things here and there.
Yeah, I mean, because I have, a cousin who lives in a state with the smaller jurisdictions, and every, 4 years he runs for state senate just because he wants to have his say, and it's only a small amount of signatures, a small amount of money, and, he's always on the ballot, never wins, but, it's enough where an average retired engineer can do that, because of that. Here, it would be quite a bit usually to get on the ballot.
I think that a lot of times the cost is associated with the size of the district in terms of like a ballot statement. So like a ballot statement is based on how many voters it's going to, and oftentimes that can hit like $5,000 or $10,000 depending on the district you're running for. But in terms of actually qualifying to be on the ballot itself, I don't think it costs that much right now. But I will look into that. Well, thank you very much for having me. If you have any more questions, I will be hanging out over there for a little bit. But I really appreciate you inviting me today, and I hope it sparked your interest a little bit.
Your timeline again would be to try to get on, which ballot?
June next week?
June next year?
2014 of
Yeah.
November.
Yeah, November.